Okay, so it's been a point of contention for some time now that Xbox doesn't seem to be getting Final Fantasy games. And that seems to be changing in the wake of messaging post Tokyo Game Show. And well, it's began with the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. They are now available on Xbox. But Final Fantasy 16 producer Yoshida-san has said that Final Fantasy 16 is coming, or seemingly they want it to come to Xbox consoles. We've got this interesting quote here, which I can't quite get my head around. It seems to be a little bit on the fence, but let's listen to the quote. Of course, we did announce the PC version of the game, so looking towards the Xbox version, we do want to release it on Xbox. But when it comes to the specifics, such as when the game would be available and such, we're not in a position to share anything. But of course, I want to say it's not as if there's zero hope. And we very much do want to achieve that. So players should not give up in terms of their hopes. And this is put into context of the idea that Square Enix is likely to move more towards a multi-platform strategy because, well, their legendary sales expectations, which are never met, does suggest that some kind of pivot is required there. I don't know what to make of this one, Oliver, because it does kind of seem in the wake of a somewhat tepid reaction to the PC version that this is all kind of too little too late. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the quote is certainly very interesting. I think it's arguably a bit less committal than they had for the PC version, which they kind of said it's coming, but don't wait, don't hold your breath for it. And of course it ended up arriving.
There's a lot of talk about hope here. I mean, I hope I win the lottery, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
Maybe there's some licensing issue, you never know. I mean, obviously this is a Sony exclusive, was a Sony exclusive until they launched it on PC. There could be some issues there. I'm not privy to that, obviously, but it could be well the case they have some issues there, or it could be just the case it's not improved internally, or they're just in an early state of development on it. But I don't know. I mean, I think that if they do get to continue working with the code base here, they should probably consider a PS5 Pro upgrade as well. That's my insight into this one, because the game has not the greatest image quality on PS5 as it stands. And something like PSSR, could clean that up quite a bit. Also, if they do ship it on Xbox, I think like getting Series S looking decent probably does require some more creative solutions. Like on PS5, you can kind of brute force it. But on Series S, maybe you're talking about like 540p internal, 720p. If they're bringing over all that tech, all that great shadowing tech, all that great lighting from the PS5 release, maybe something like FSR2 would help. Certainly if you look at the PC version, you do have those upsampling technologies there. Maybe that helps you, but I don't know. I kind of think it's maybe worth teeing off a bit. I don't know if Alex, you have any thoughts on this, but I know that in reaction to our coverage, there was some upset over how heavy the game is on PC. And I don't disagree with that. It's definitely a heavy game, and certainly if we did see it on Xbox, I think we'd see quite a lot of evidence of that on Series S. But it's also a very good-looking one, and I personally would always prefer a game that looks a little bit better at a lower resolution, is a bit more sophisticated, than a really, really high resolution, like 4K 120 game, like this game might have looked like if it had been continued to be developed on the PS4 as the base system instead of moving over to PS5 as they did in mid-development there. If they did bring it over to Xbox, I think that would just be a really good chance for them to actually go back, change some things, maybe patch that PS5 version, and kind of correct a couple of those things, because like that Intel TAA combination with FSR1 is just not a super flattering combination, and not just in terms of the overall sharpness and detail resolved in that final image, but also just in terms of the aliasing presentation. Like it has quite a lot of aliasing in it. It does not look amazing on on the PC version. You get like DLAA and it's like a world apart basically. So, but yeah, that'd be a difficult thing for them to navigate unless they were to bring in possibly some of those technologies in from the PC.
I've got a quick thing to say about image quality there, Oliver. I just want to say that it's not as if there's zero hope, and we very much do hope that they achieve that. So players should not give up in terms of their hopes.
Just as to talk about the quote, I do think it is not the best form to imply a game will be coming out based upon, emotional like there's nothing, that's like actually not completely non-committal. Like why not say we want to bring it to Xbox, we will do everything to bring it to Xbox, like especially in light of their trying to pivot more towards multi-platform because they are not meeting sales expectations by sticking only to Sony, and then the breadcrumbs PC version however long after the fact. I think it's just I also think too little too late. Like Rich is saying, like this game, if it does come out on Xbox, is going to be maybe 2 years late at that point. And Xbox players who have things like a new Game Pass game coming out, or a new their own first party title coming out at that point, you have a limited budget. And it's not like this thing is getting Super Bowl commercials anymore. So do you even know it's coming out? Do you even care it's coming out? Like, I think this, like, we release something after the fact is not, it's almost like not enough to make people excited enough again to buy it again. I know that on PC, like my back catalog is ridiculous. Like just a new game, an RPG. Wow. Yeah, so I would vastly prefer the other situation where they take a little bit more time in development and they do multi-platform releases much closer to each other. It doesn't need to be day and date, in my humble opinion. But I think just having them a lot closer so they can synergize in regards to people's excitement levels, as well as hopefully technologically. There's some synergy there. Like if you target a platform, like a higher end platform, then you maybe have sometimes better scaling. And like, cause you have like a stratified grouping of things that one, like better CPUs, less memory. And then you can maybe build in some of those optimizations from like targeting a Series S version back into the main code, right? Like we kind of saw that with Baldur's Gate 3, where the push to get it running on Xbox actually had a pretty significant effect on performance in the PC version after the fact. And I kind of liked that backwards flow. And I would like to see that actually with something like Final Fantasy, where them bringing it over to PC, it, I think, showcased some of the limitations of the technology to a certain degree, like the sometimes completely absurd levels of GPU limitedness. Like I'm fine with the game being very heavy if it looks good, but the roller coaster of GPU usage was, I think, telltale sign of a game that had like trouble budgeting itself during development. And it's because it's not like, more flat scene to scene, but rather within a scene itself, you could see like 100 doubling of GPU usage just because one effect came on screen. And usually that's like not a good optimization strategy. So yeah, I would like to see them do closer multi-platform releases and not give people hopes, but give people firm commitments, actually.
I mean, I've just been thinking about this whole idea of, game A arriving on platform B and then it arrives on platform C like a year or 2 years later. I just don't think it's a recipe for success. And I'm looking at what Microsoft has done with Indiana Jones. And there's a very small window of exclusivity between Xbox and PlayStation. I think they've thought it through, and I think they've come to the conclusion that if they actually, held it back for a long period of time, they would make far less money. I mean, it's just basic economics, and I think it's probably the route forward there. Final Fantasy 16, I mean, I'm just concerned it's going to be just way too late. And the competition for eyeballs at the moment, the competition for gameplay time is just so intense that, waiting a couple of years just isn't really going to cut the mustard.